The Scum Villain's Self-Saving System, Chapter 54 Unhappy Reunion. Audio source, wushouworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 54 Unhappy Reunion. Xiāng Tóngxiù was grabbed so hard that his bones were almost broken. Now only his legs could move, but he didn't want to publicly knee Luo Bing in the groin. Xiāng Tóngxiù said, "You did this on purpose?" Luo Bing asked. "What does Shizun mean?" Xiāng Tóngxiù said, "You didn't immediately slaughter everyone in the sect. Instead, you delayed matters for a long time just to draw me out." Luo Bing smiled bitterly. It seems that Shizun can occasionally guess his disciples' thoughts correctly. This disciple is truly wild with joy. I wish I could beat my chest and stamp my feet to engrave this moment in my memory forever. Lu Qing withdrew his sword. He swayed and seemed to be somewhat dizzy. Pointing at Luo Bing, he said, "You, let him go." Luo Bing dragged Xiāng Tóngxiù into his arms and said impatiently, "What did you say?" His attitude as he did this was unyielding, causing Xiāng Tóngxiù's depression, which he had been suppressing, to shoot 3 feet high. Xiāng Tóngxiù silently took a deep breath and said, "When did you realize that it was me in your dreams?" If Luo Bing hadn't discovered that Xiāng Tóngxiù hadn't died, would Luo Bing have waited at Kangchong Mountain sect like a hunter trying to flush out his prey? Luo Bing said, "Shizun looks down on me too much. Even if I didn't notice the first time, I would be really stupid if I didn't notice it the second time." Xiāng Tóngxiù suddenly felt a pain in his knee. Silently, he thought, "You're not stupid. I'm the one who's stupid." It was only Xiāng Tóngxiù who knew how Luo Bing cultivated and manipulated his dream abilities to superb effect, but Xiāng Tóngxiù thought he was really out of his mind and wouldn't be able to differentiate between hallucinations and people who invaded his dreamland. Xiāng Tóngxiù asked, "Why didn't you end the dream when you discovered an anomaly? Is it fun to act out a teacher's devoted and obedient disciple play?" Luo Bing looked at him. Unexpectedly, he said, "Why would I want to do that? Was Shizun not happy to be coaxed by me?" Happy? At that time Xiāng Tóngxiù wasn't happy at all because he was worried about Luo Bing's psychological state. However, the facts have proved that everything, including his worries, was under Luo Bing's control. After all, this was Luo Bing, the protagonist. How could he have made such a big mistake, thinking that Luo Bing had turned over a new leaf and mended his ways, becoming just a lovely, pitiful little white flower? Xiāng Tóngxiù was the type of person who was amenable to coaxing but not to coercion. However, now he felt as though his face had been slapped twice when he realized that Luo Bing had only been pretending. Qi involuntarily cried out, "Slow down, what's going on?" She pointed inside the Chongding's palace hall. "The one lying inside. Isn't that Xiāng Tóngxiù? Why is there another one?" Luo Bing seemed to be in a good mood as he said, "Why don't you ask the former Nding Peak Lord, Xiāng Tóngxiù?" He knew that the only thing Shang Qinghua could be given credit for was having no backbone or moral integrity. Shang Qinghua chuckled but immediately stepped forward when Mo Beizhan gave him a sidelong look. Head high, chest puffed out, he gathered his wits, and said clearly, "A few years ago senior apprentice brother Shen accidentally found a place that held a treasure, the sun and moon dew flower seed. This spirit plant can be molded into the shape of a body. It was with the help of this treasure that senior apprentice brother Shen was able to shed his mortal body at Huayue City. The corpse inside is his, but it's only an empty shell. The one here outside is him, too. Both are him." This was a succinct summary, very concise and understandable. Several pairs of eyes suddenly turned towards Xiāng Tóngxiù. Lu Qing immediately pointed Chang Luan at Xiāng Tóngxiù. The murderous look on Lu Qing's face was worse than when he was looking at Luo Bing earlier. Yu Qingyuan whispered, "In that case, why has there been absolutely no news of you for the past 5 years? Why did you sever all connections with the 12 Peaks? Is it because, in your heart, your fellow sect members are unworthy of your trust?" Shen Qingqiu felt guilty at his lack of confidence. That senior apprentice brother, listen to me. Qi Qingqi sighed. Shen Qingqiu, you're actually that kind of person. Do you know how badly they were hurt by you, senior apprentice brother? Do you know how much your disciples cried? All day long Qingjing Peak was filled with the sound of weeping. For one entire year, no one wanted to visit the peak because it was shrouded in gloom, with everyone wearing mourning clothes. The position of Peak Lord was left vacant while you were happily playing outside, free and unfettered. The thing Shen Qingqiu was most afraid of was the shrewish Qi Qingqi pointing a finger at him and giving him a scolding. Shen Qingqiu hurriedly said, I really didn't mean to do that. I wasn't happily playing freely outside at all. I've been buried in the soil for 5 years. I just woke up a few days ago. That person who was running around outside free and unfettered, it was all his doing. When Shang Qinghua saw that the spearhead was pointing at him again, he felt even more wronged. Why blame me again? Didn't you say you wanted it to mature as soon as possible? Lu Qing pressed his fingers against his temple. Shut up. Shang Qinghua, shut up. They were a noisy group. In fact, if you looked at this scene a certain way, it probably looked quite funny, but Shen Qingqiu thought that the entertainment factor was lost because of the timing. Fires had sprung up all over Chongqing Peak and its buildings were scorched black. After 2 days of fighting and siege, it no longer had its usual majestic and dignified look. Inside and outside the palace hall, there were people with blood-stained faces holding on to another disciple's hand to stand. The disciples of the younger generation around him seemed panic-stricken. They were exhausted, like an arrow at the end of its flight. On the other hand, the black-armored demon generals and fighters that had half surrounded the Kangchong Mountain sect disciples looked like newly sharpened swords. The demons' bright eyes were staring at the disciples like tigers watching their prey. Shen Qingqiu turned around to look at the person behind him and said, Luo Bing, you said you came to Kangchong Mountain sect to catch me. Luo Bing said, correct. Shen Qingqiu said, you've caught me. Quote, your goal has been achieved. It's time to withdraw. Luo Bing looked at him and said, you won't run away. Shen Qingqiu nodded slowly, I won't run away. The corners of Luo Bing's mouth turned up in a humorless sick smile. For the first time, his face showed an expression that was devoid of mockery. He whispered, so many times, I've believed in Shizun so much. Lu Qing suddenly said, Shen Qingqiu, what do you mean? He looked at Shen Qingqiu as though Shen Qingqiu's words had just subjected him to extraordinary shame and humiliation. Baizan Peak's Lord is here. You're right in front of me, but you intend to sacrifice yourself by surrendering your body to him? Junior apprentice brother, I can understand that as Baizan Peak's Lord, you feel that your dignity has been violated, but could you change the words you use? What the devil do you mean by surrendering your body? Please change this way of referring to it, thank you. Lu Qing said, you're afraid of being a burden on Kangchong Mountain sect, but Kangchong Mountain sect isn't necessarily afraid of this burden. Luo Bing sneered, how many unbroken ribs do you have left? When Yu Qingyuan's hand grasped Zansu's hilt, Mu Qingfeng, who was beside him, said nervously, Senior apprentice brother Zhang, you broke through the demon's barrier and sustained grievous injuries at the hands of the enemy. Now you're barely able to draw your sword. I'm afraid that it will really harm your body. A burst of black chi suddenly rose to Yu Qingyuan's face but was forced down again. His voice was strained when he said, no, impossible. Junior apprentice brother already died once. We weren't able to protect him then. Do I really have to watch him die again? Shen Qingqiu's mind was in turmoil when he heard those words. If one were to list all of the people Shen Qingqiu admired and respected most in the world, Yu Qingyuan would rank first. Not only did he have a powerful, sincere, and earnest desire to protect, but he always did his utmost for the sect as a whole. Shen Qingqiu found it too embarrassing to ask the Kangchong Mountain sect master to clear up Shen Qingqiu's mess 7 and pay the bill for him. The one who had courted death was him alone, therefore he should take on this burden alone. Shen Qingqiu said, "I've taught my disciples that it's enough for one person to take responsibility. Senior apprentice brother, as the sect master, the well-being of all the disciples of the sect rests on your shoulders. You should know what choice to make." The hall was silent. Yu Qingyuan's face was stiff and his knuckles were white. Shen Qingqiu was reminding him that, as the leader of a sect that was in a very perilous situation, the proper choice was easy to see. As every peak lord was considering this, Ning Yingying rushed forward, grabbed Shen Qingqiu's arm, and shouted, "I disagree." Shen Qingqiu said, "Ming Fan, take care of your junior apprentice sister." 8. Ning Yingying said, "I'm not a child anymore. I don't need someone to take care of me." During the altercation at Jinlan City and Huanhua Palace, Shizun, you came forward to solve the problem. Why does it have to be you again this time? Why does it have to be Shizun who suffers each time? Because I'm the one courting disaster. But at least he managed to raise a normal and filial girl. Shen Qingqiu had been very worried, but now he felt somewhat relieved. It's not seemly for an adult to weep endlessly like this. Your teacher isn't going to die. Quote. In his heart, he added the word probably. The next moment, Ming Fan, with a face full of grief and indignation, said, "Shizun, wouldn't death be better than giving yourself to this devil 9 for Kangchong Mountain sect sake? Who has ever heard of a gentleman who gives his own life to feed a devil? What are you saying?" WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Ming Fan, you little brat, can you speak human? This long delay made Luobing impatient. He grabbed Shen Qingqiu's hand, put his other hand on the heart devil's hilt, and said, "I'll also be taking Shizun's immortal body, too." Another peak lord said indignantly, "That's going too far. Isn't it enough for you to take one person away? What are you going to do with the corpse?" Luobing didn't answer. Instead, he gestured to Mo Beijun, then gave him instructions. Seeing this with great reluctance, Shen Qingqiu decided to compromise. One wrong word and the other dispute could arise. To prevent this, Shen Qingqiu wanted to pull on Luobing's arm but felt too embarrassed to do that. Instead, he pulled on Luobing's sleeve. He hesitated for a while, then summoned up all his courage and said, "I'm going to accompany you, so why do you have to do this?" When he said that, Shen Qingqiu felt extremely humiliated. He was a man, but in front of so many other people, he had to whisper, "Accompany you," in a conciliatory tone. 10. The fact that this person was once his disciple made him feel that the situation was even more resentful. It was disgraceful. However, showing one's weak side had a certain effect on men. The expression on Luobing's face visibly became sunny and cloudless. Not only did his grip on Shen Qingqiu loosen, but even his tone of voice also softened. Nonetheless, even though his tone was soft, his words were still as harsh as before. Shizun's original body is still very important. After all, if Shizun's soul leaves his current body again like a cicada casting off its skin, this disciple wouldn't know what to do. As soon as Luobing turned his head away from Shen Qingqiu, his voice became cold. "Take it away." Before Mo Beijun could move, Qi Qingqi, who had been listening to Lu Mingan quietly whispering to her in the upper hall, first looked surprised, then became calm and said, "Stop arguing." She raised her head and said, "Luobing, there's no need to argue over this now. Even if we were to allow you to take it away, your wish can't be fulfilled." Shen Qingqiu knew she was hot-tempered and didn't know if she might say something extremely infuriating to provoke Luobing. Shen Qingqiu had a bad feeling about this, but unexpectedly, she motioned Lu Mingan to forward. "Mingan, tell them." Lu Mingan, Shan Shishu's 11 immortal body is missing. She stepped aside after she finished speaking, and from behind her a few disciples were carried out. These were the disciples who had been at the ceremonial 12 platform guarding the corpse. The disciples were all unconscious and their bodies from their faces to their fingertips were a strange bluish-black color. There was an uproar in the hall. Yu Qingyuan's facial expression changed and Luo Bing raised his eyebrows. Qi Qingqi said calmly, "Luo Bing, you needn't give me that look. I really wanted to hide it, but unfortunately, I had just told Mingan to go to the hall, only to find that the platform was empty. The corpse that we placed on it and preserved, as was appropriate, has disappeared." She seemed delighted and spoke cheerfully. Unexpectedly, the corpse would rather sprout wings and fly away than be carried off by Luo Bing. Mu Qingfang examined the disciples and said, "They are unconscious but their lives are not in danger. It's poison." Yu Qingyuan said, "Which poison is it?" Mu Qingfang said, "I can't tell right now. They have no wounds. Let me take a sample of their blood to test." Qi Qingqi said, "If this was poison from the human world, junior apprentice brother Mu would be able to identify it with a glance. Since he is unable to, is this something you did?" Luo Bing said indifferently, "I don't like to use poison." It's true, Luo Bing rarely uses poison to kill people. Moreover, he had no need to lie since he was currently in an overwhelmingly superior position. This meant that while the two sides were gathered in the hall, bickering with each other, some unknown person or persons had secretly sneaked inside past all of their defenses and stolen Shen Qingqi's corpse right from under the noses of the leaders of the human cultivators and demons. What a scary thought. Shen Qingqiu wondered, what's up with people trying to steal his corpse? How come when he was alive no one wanted him, but when he was dead he was in high demand? 13. Luo Bing saw that it would do no good to stay here and talk about it. Frowning, he said, "Never mind, no matter who took it, I will always be able to find it." Black chi rose up in the air when Luo Bing drew the heart devil sword. A slash of his sword cleaved space and a portal opened. Shen Qingqiu reminded him, "Remove the encirclement." Luo Bing looked at him then said brusquely, "As Shizun wishes." The tip of Lu Qingji's sword Cheng Luan was pointed down. Lu Qing looked up and his hand clenched so tightly on the sword's hilt that his palm 14 was cut and blood dripped down the blade. He stood there frozen for a long time but could only spit out a single word. Wait. This word was thrown out like an icy dart yet full of fury and an overpowering desire to fight. Luo Bing sheathed the heart devil sword and smiled grimly. "Let's go."